All right, so I'm back with part two. So I was continuing my discussion, the whole situation with Steven Jackson, Craig Smith, and Matt Barnes, and the whole topic of sensitivity and jokes and all that kind of stuff. Now, for some reason my stream got interrupted. It ended on its own. It wasn't me, but okay, cool. Just go to show you that YouTube be controlling these streams because they ended my stream. It wasn't me, but I'm back at it. But nevertheless, let's finish talking about this. Now, Steven Jackson, I gotta say this, he's coming across as a hypocrite. Because once again, when the whole thing with Mike Epps jumped off, Steven Jackson had Mike Epps on there, and Mike Epps, he eventually apologized to what he said and for what he said about Shannon Sharp, calling him gay and all that kind of stuff. So what I didn't like about Mike Epps said that, when he went to meet up with Shannon Sharp, that he brought a gun with him. I'm like, dude, what you bringing a gun for? Like, damn, dude, you was come on, man. And then, of course, some goofy ass nigga, I guess he was from where Mike Epps was from, which is Indianapolis, talk about, yeah, town, that's how we do it in Naptown. I was like, nigga, fuck Naptown. Now what? Because he said he said that Shannon Sharp was being too sensitive. So I wanted to see how would he feel, and of course he fell for the trap. He got all emotional, telling me that I better not come to Indianapolis. Man, what I'm gonna come to Indianapolis for? There ain't nothing out there, no Indianapolis. And if I do come out there, I'm gonna come out there. It ain't nothing gonna happen to me. Like I said before, there ain't no reason for me to come to Indianapolis unless I come to the NFL combine. That's about it. And I'll come there. But it ain't that serious. But he proved my point about he can talk crazy, but then when I respond back, then he all of a sudden he quote unquote got all up in his feelings. But I was just doing that just to test him. And that's what I mean. People quick to say somebody is sensitive or emotional until you say something about them. When the spotlight isn't on them, then they quick to holler about how somebody posed to handle a situation. You can suggest and say what you think, but at the end of the day, you're not that person. I understand scenarios when something is going on, especially when it's not happening to me. Because like I said, it's easy for people to say somebody should have did this, somebody should have did that. But you just never know what to do in certain situations. So that's just basically it. But like I said, I have to call Steven Jackson on his hypocrisy. Because after the whole Mike Epps thing happened, Mike Epps, he apologized to Shannon Sharp. They squashed it. So then he went on All the Smoke. So this is where I got mad at Steven Jackson, because Steven Jackson, now he was acting like he was acting like a bitch ass nigga. And I have to keep it 100. Have to, call, stack out on his hypocrisy. He sat up there and said, man, y'all comedians, and you shouldn't have had to apologize. For him to get that mad, it must be some truth to it and all that kind of stuff. See, he was instigating. He should have left it at that. He should have just said, hey, I wouldn't even have asked him, but he seemed to have some issue with Shannon Sharp. And I know that Steven Jackson was sitting up there saying that he one of the godfathers of, the whole podcasts or whatever that, at the end of the day, this is just, this was just a lane that everybody decided to go down and decided to drive down, which I think is good, because I do think the internet is good to a certain degree, and then to a certain degree it isn't. It has its pros and its cons. The pro part is you can use your platform to connect with, people all over the world, make friends, acquaintances, and it could lead to lucrative, business opportunities and stuff. But on the flip side, you're going to have people that's going to be against you, that's going to hate what you're doing and just naturally be jealous of you. Or you're going to have people trying to ride your wave and stuff. Or you're going to have this ridiculous situation that's going on with the T app, which I hope that they shut that down, because at the end of the day, to a certain degree, it's just basically an app to, basically slander a man and stuff. And then due to the fact that they don't allow men to join the app, that's discriminatory within itself. But, that's another video for another day. But let me get back to this whole thing with Craig Smith and Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. Now that's where I have to call Steven Jackson out on his hypocrisy. Like, okay, bro, you sat up there and said that Shannon Sharp was being too sensitive, but then yet you responded to Craig Smith when he went in on, Vernon Maxwell. But then I do think Craig Smith didn't have to call the dude squares and stuff, because at the end of the day, Craig don't know everybody's background. Okay, cool, dude. You came from LA and all that kind of stuff. That's fine. You say you grew up in the trenches, but like I said, you don't know where Vernon Maxwell, Vernon Ford. Shout out to the late great Vernon Ford. You don't know what Vernon Maxwell's background is. You don't know what Matt Barnes' background is. You don't know what Steven's background is. And you got to understand, when you imply that somebody is a square, well, okay, people gonna take offense to that, because nobody don't like being called a square. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you were speaking on them, and I know you was trying to make jokes and everything, but you got to understand, I do think you need to be mindful of stuff. You can't hide behind that, oh, you a comedian and it's your job to make jokes. Okay, you say that's your job, but that's not their job. And I think you need to be aware. And if somebody say, hey man, would you mind like toning it down with the jokes, or somebody just say, hey man, kind of like, man, just leave me alone, let it be. I just think you should just take the high road and just say, all right, man, it's good. But black people, once again, they biggest Achilles heel they have, especially with black men, they got to make everything sometime a pissing contest. They got to make it a testosterone thing, because we've been conditioned to where everything has to come down to how tough you are, whether it's through society or whether it's through our women. Everything has to be about how tough you are. I think you could have a discussion like men and just say, hey man, would you kind of like chill on that? Because like I said, it's easy for somebody to say somebody is sensitive and emotional till you say something about they punk ass. I went down that rabbit hole quite a bit with people. Where I had discussions about certain situations, because they love to say that about black people. You have a lot of, tellers, you have a lot of coons, you have a lot of, non-blacks, you have a lot of races. When you talk about particular subjects pertaining to race, when you say, hey, I didn't appreciate what dude said and I don't think it's cool, then of course you sit up here and get somebody that ain't black telling another black man that they too emotional. But then when you say something about them, then here they come. Oh man, that's not cool. Oh man, you're being this, you're being that. I love doing that. I love returning fire. Then it come down to, okay, well, who's being sensitive now? But me, my own personal opinion, I think Matt Barnes, Craig Smith, now I'm pretty sure they're going to discuss this on the 50 show. And I think it's going to probably get perpetuated even worse, because I know Corey Holcomb going to get on there and start talking crazy, which is going to perpetuate it even more, when I think they should just take the high road. Listen, I'm going to say this, black man, this is just real talk. Listen, if somebody speak to you about something and say, hey man, would you mind not doing this, mind not doing that, and you just be like, hey man, my bad, my bad, I apologize, and I'm gonna leave it at that. It ain't that you accepted the fact, you accepted accountability. You accepted the fact, hey, I was wrong, and I'm gonna make it right. And then you guys got to understand, on the flip side, you're not checking nobody all the time. You're not always checking somebody. You just spoke to somebody, and at the end of the day, there's a difference between checking somebody and then having a conversation. And we got to get out of that oh yeah, I spoke to him and I checked him. I just say, I'm at the point, I'll just say, hey, me and him had a conversation. We spoke and we left it at that. But when you get on here and say, hey man, I'll check the dude and all this kind of stuff, then it can start up again, because now you perpetuating it, you making it a testosterone contest, you making it a pissing contest. So I think we gotta work on that too. We gotta stop thinking every time we have a discussion and we squash a beef or issue, somebody got checked. It's called being an adult. It's called being mature. We got to do that. Everything ain't about getting checked. It's about having a conversation, an adult conversation, speaking it as men. Okay? Because I do think we got to get out of that mode. When somebody say, I saw him and I checked him and all that kind of stuff. And I know it sounds good when people say, oh, somebody got checked and all that stuff, because I know a lot of dudes put that stuff. When somebody squash something, they'll say somebody got checked and stuff. And I know it sounds good for clicks and all that stuff, because a lot of people build their channel around chaos and mess. Like I said, if I came with the more, listen, I already know if I came with the more, what's the word I'm looking for? If I came with more startling titles for my videos, I could probably get a lot more clicks, hits, and all that kind of stuff. But I don't like doing that. I patent myself on, basically just telling it how it is from my perspective and what I think in that situation. And then plus, at the end of the day, this, time is money, money is time. So some people, depending on how they title a video, it's instantly monetized and all that kind of stuff. Yes, my channel is monetized. I don't live off of YouTube, but at the end of the day, y'all remember I was shadow banned for years because of some of the stuff I used to say. So I just recently got off the shadow ban like about a year ago, me and somebody else. So I got to be very particular, about my titles. Because if you put a certain title, it's going to, YouTube gonna check the title, then they gonna listen to the video, and it'll take anywhere from a couple of hours before it's, okay, we'll monetize it. So, real talk. I don't got it like that where I can come with those catchy titles. I have to be as subtle as possible. So I'm just saying. But in the grand scheme of things, as I get ready to close this video, I just got a feeling that this situation gonna get stretched and perpetuated even more, because once again ego's gonna get involved. I think sometimes, and I know that's gonna happen, I know they're gonna say, oh man, yeah, we can fight and all that kind of stuff. Listen, if I'm Craig Smith, I'll be like, man, come on, man. I'll say, man, I don't want to fight you, bro. You could have that. You could have that. And if I'm Matt Barnes, at the end of the day, Matt and Captain Jack, you guys are millionaires. You guys are multi-millionaires. Matt Barnes made a lot of money as an NBA player. Matt Barnes made millions of dollars. And so did Captain Jack. At the end of the day, you don't even have like that. Listen, at the end of the day, real talk, it's not even close who has more money. Y'all are millionaires. I'm pretty sure Craig is doing very well for himself, because he has a lot of different things going on. He works with Big Job, which, by the way, I'm a big fan of Big Job. But y'all are millionaires. Y'all got to understand at this point in time, yeah, people gangsters until something really happened. And you never know. At the end of the day, everybody knows that y'all got the type of bread where you really could make something happen. And I'm not implying they should do stuff like that, but you already know you're gonna have these dudes on here that's gonna call themselves and acting on, oh yeah, ride for Captain Jack, ride for Matt Barnes and all that kind of stuff. Then next thing you know, you get attached to something that you ain't even attached to. So my advice for Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, just bow out. Just let it be, move on from it. Just say, you know what? We good. And then the same thing with Craig Smith. Just let it be. Just squash it. Just move on from it. But as I said before, I do think that Craig Smith was out of line when he went on to talk about, oh, your wife had semen on there, and you drove it. Like, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. Listen. There ain't one, I don't care how real a nigga you say you is, or how real, or whatever the case may be. I don't care how street you supposed to be. At one time or another, there's always been that girl that you almost went to war over, or got into it with other dudes over. It just happens. I don't care how street you is. Happens to the best of us. Because if you a real street dude, everybody knows a lot of wars in the streets that started or been perpetuated or instigated over something that a chick then said, or it then been behind a chick. Can we keep it 100, please? Can we keep it 100? Can we keep it a stack? So when dudes sit up here and say, because it didn't happen to the best of us. It didn't happen to me. I didn't almost went to war over something a chick didn't say. Or I didn't have dudes get at me, call my phone over some chick. Happens to the best of us. So I gotta keep it 100. So let's not try to make it look like, you know what I'm saying? Let's try to make it real. It happens to the best of us. Let's not try to play them games that we ain't never got into it with another dude over a chick or something that a chick said. Happens to the best of us. Let's keep it 100. I just think that somebody should have just took the high road. I just think all this stuff about, let's run the fade and all that kind of stuff. Move on. Now me, there was a dude where I was ready to run the fade with because he was, lying on me and stuff. He was talking about I ran from him and, and all this stuff when he saw me in person, which was a complete fucking lie. And he know who he was. He know who he is. He know who he be. Which I don't even know why you was telling people that, because when you saw me, you didn't do shit. And if you would have tried something, you would have got, you would have got your chin separated. You would have got your chin separated from your face. But that's neither here or there. I ain't even, I ain't even going down that rabbit hole. But, I just wanted to make that clear. My situation was totally different. Because the dude, was kind of insinuating like he wanted some static with me. But that's what happens. Dudes see you and they don't do nothing. And then he tried to call himself trying to stare at me and look. And when he saw that I was with it, he moved on. Like I said, didn't do shit when he saw me. And he know who he is. But for real, y'all, I want to say to Craig Smith, move on from this. Don't go on the 5150 show further provoking and perpetuating this situation. Because as black men, we got to stop every time something happened. We want to resort to violence. We got to. Now, that's one thing that I agree with Kwame Brown on. But then, like I say, there should be a limitation with everything. All this stuff about people should be able to take a joke. Well, you don't have to be able to take. There is no law that says if somebody joke with you. But I think now the difference is there's a difference between comedy and then trying to disrespect somebody. And a lot of people try to disguise comedy with being disrespectful. And that's just real talk. Just like I don't care for those prank dudes. Because that prank stuff, I just don't care for that. Because I just think these dudes, they take it too far. When you start walking up to people threatening them and stuff, nah, I'm good. But anyway, I just wanted to get my point across and I just wanted to speak on this. So hope you guys enjoy. This your boy Town. Let's just, let's just squash this stuff. Let's just take the high road. Let's just move on from it. But I got a feeling on the 5150 show, I got a feeling that Corey Holcomb is going to further perpetuate the situation. I think Corey Holcomb like 56, I think. He up there, 56. He might be close to 60. I think he should be the one to say, you know what? Let's just squash it. Let's just leave it alone. This your boy Town. I'm out.